Oh my God, guys, it's so cold. It's so cold. Oh, this team is ice cold. My God. So, in France, we say this is clim. This is an air conditioning that we put on this Marseille team, turning around the result at the last minute. We basically chilled them to the bone. So yeah, we put a clim, we put the air conditioning. So it is cold. It is cold around here. Paris beats Marseille 2-2, and then on penalty 4-1 in the Trophée des Champions in Kuwait, in a game that was not as easy as I had wanted. Clearly, my bold prediction was about 44 steps too bold. But we got the win, we got the trophy. It's all that matters in the end. Lots of things to talk about on this game. So let's just dive into it and kind of debrief together this seventh trophy in 365 days. What a team. What a team. So, 2-2 for Paris. Well, 2-2 is a draw, and then 4-1 on penalty. So, like a draw technically, but the trophy for Paris. So I'll count that as a win. A game that was really hard fought. That Paris didn't really do that great in. That Marseille definitely did great in. And yes, that had like so many twists and turns, so many plot twists, last minute drama, penalty kicks, you name it. Everything was in it. And so we get the win over our rivals, and just honestly, like the best feeling you can get, winning a trophy against Marseille. They were 2 minutes away from winning a trophy, which they haven't done in 14 years. In 14 years, they haven't won a trophy. So they were about ready for it. And then you just like dangle it in front and up, take it away. And I don't know. I really enjoy that. Like I said, the game was far from perfect. We scored early, goal by Dembele, I think on the 13th minute, so early in the first half. Then, like a game that was really entertaining and going back and forth for a while. Both teams had chances to score. Both teams were really going at it and trying to make it happen. And then ultimately around like the 75th minute, Marseille gets a penalty that's very, very generous in all fairness, which Greenwood scores and brings them back to 1-1. And then like less than 10 minutes after this, around like the 83rd, 85th minute, Pacho scores an own goal under pressure from Aubameyang. And so Marseille at this point, 85th minute, 2-1 up, are really like thinking that they're winning the silverware. But that's without counting on our super sub Zorro himself, Gonçalo Ramos, 94th minute, on a beautiful piece of football, honestly. So it starts with a great defensive move from Pacho, getting the ball back from Aubameyang as he was getting ready to shoot and potentially score the third one for Marseille. Pacho gets the ball back. Nuno Mendes passes it forward to Vitinha. Vitinha takes 2-3 steps forward, sees Barcola running on the left, long ball forward. Barcola heads it to the center of the area where Gonçalo Ramos, who was in passive offside, and so just got the ball back onside, volleys it clear of Rulli and at the back of the nets of Marseille. And so 2-2, 94th minute, it's straight on to penalty. And in this penalty shootout, Lucas Chevalier does extremely well, manages to stop the first two Marseille kicks, Marseille penalties. While on the Paris Saint-Germain side, we don't miss one. So it's Ramos first, then Vitinha, then Nuno Mendes, and then finally Doué. Doué scoring the winning ones. And so we get the win 4-1 and lift the silverware. A game that was honestly quite close. I think closer than I was anticipating. I think obviously like I wasn't really expecting Marseille to be at the same level that they had showed last weekend against Nantes. Obviously, for a game like this, for a trophy, like it was always going to be a big game. I was expecting us to ramp up a little bit more, and I think honestly, like I was listening to a few reactions and a few debriefs and so on, reading the news. I think, yeah, like ultimately, yes, Marseille have their chances. Chevalier does very well on a few opportunities. I think there's definitely like this one triple save in the first half, on the second half, and then there's a couple of this save on a corner kick, on a header following a corner kick in the first half. So there's a few where he does actually really, really well, and Chevalier overall has a very solid game. Definitely his best one since he's been in Paris, and we did see the Chevalier that we saw last season in Lille. So that's really good to see. So both teams had their opportunity. I think even for us, Dembele scores a great first goal, and I think in the first half, maybe like the first 25-30 minutes, we kind of dominate. We've got a couple of other opportunities. I think one by Nuno Mendes in particular, where like he ends up being able to take a shot in the area that gets saved by Rudy, which I definitely think he should have buried. And at this point, if you're 2-0 up at the 25th minute, yeah, I think the game turns very, very different as a result. But anyway, even in the second half, Doué at some point hit the post. There's also like, couple of opportunities, not quite opportunities, but situations where we're like right on the edge of the area. There's either misunderstanding or blocked shots or like bad decision makings and so on. So we're really like, yeah, I think we're creating quite a lot of danger. And I think this PSG team, I felt, was producing a lot more than what we did against Paris FC, for example. But granted, I think like Marseille, to be fair, like put in a real like solid performance. I think in midfield tactically they put a lot of problem on us. I think our midfield three didn't have the strongest game of their lives. I think all of the three were challenged in different ways. I think, ultimately, like Vitinha, João Neves, I felt were a bit neutral. Fabian Ruiz ended up compensating for Nuno Mendes quite a bit. And so, yeah, and I think Marseille, tactically, they always manage to drop like either attackers dropping back or one of their three defenders moving forward, so that in the end they would manage to have numerical superiority in midfield. And so what that did is that it really stopped us from controlling the game as much as we would want. It really allowed them to press relatively high on the pitch and relatively efficiently. And then, like, even for us, it didn't allow us to put on a high press, which I think, one, physically, we're not at the stage where we're equipped to do it. But two, they always had solutions available to them in midfield. And so every time we tried to move forward to really press them and like push them back in defense and get the ball back very high in the pitch, yes, they had solutions, and they managed to get out of it. The only time where we managed to do it is actually on Dembele's goal, where we get the ball like really high up the pitch. Vitinha straight away like passes it one touch to Dembele, who dings it over the keeper, and it's 1-0. And that's trademark the PSG that we want to see. But yeah, I think like by virtue of the opponent, and I think by virtue of us like physically not being able to quite do it, it's not the PSG that we see, and so ultimately, like, it ends up being a very entertaining game because the ball moves back and forth and it goes from like one area to the next, but it's definitely like a lot less controlling than we typically expect from this PSG team, and that's what Luis Enrique typically wants. And so I think that's why a lot of people today are kind of complaining a little bit about this PSG performance, which is fair, but that's kind of the way it goes. And I think, like, for me, Yeah, I understand the criticism. I'm not so negative because I think like, the win is what we wanted and the win is what we've got. We still need to have like that trigger moment where like things click and we like take a step up. But when I see the team really like almost like disappearing a little bit around the 30th minute in the first half and around like the 60th, 65th minute in the second half, that screams to me that it's a team that's doing a lot of physical work in training and that's not quite able to withstand the full length of the game. And so, like, we get the win. That's what we wanted. Hopefully, it buys us a little bit more time to get back to that level. We don't have any injuries. We've got players like Doué and Dembélé, who this time did the full 90 minutes after doing only 17 the last game. And so, hopefully all of those players. Vara also like plays most of the game when he didn't play against Paris FC. So hopefully all of those players, we can kind of bring them back to top form and get to, I don't know if it's going to be like end of January for the last two Champions League group phase game, or if we're already looking at like late February / beginning March for like the next round of the Champions League. I don't know how the staff is looking at it and when they're hoping to hit their form. But I think it's gonna go crescendo throughout. And yeah, I think like ultimately like there was a whole game of this season. It's to be able to stay close, win the games we have to win the games we have to win, not give away too much ground for as long as necessary until we can get back to form and get back to full fitness, and then like hit the ground running for the end of the season, do the final sprint and manage to win all of the trophies that we've won last season. I think that's what the staff is trying to do. That's what the team is trying to do. I still think, and this game kind of made it even clearer for me, I do still think that we're a little bit short in midfield in particular, and that, in a game like this one, where our midfield three is not really like fully satisfactory and not really like dominating the game as much as we would want them to. We're lacking a little bit in terms of options. We had only Mayulu on the bench, and then like even beyond that, like what would we have done? We have put in like Kang-in Lee instead of one of the three. Of course, if Hakimi is there, like we can have Warren, Zaire Emery in the midfield. But yeah, I do think it's a little bit short. And I do think, given how many games and how much like physical pressure player like Vitinha took, player like João Neves took, yeah, it'd probably be a good thing if we manage to get at least one recruit in this area of the pitch. We'll see. Obviously, like I'll direct you back to my insiders Mercato video of yesterday. We don't want to do anything at all cost. It's all about finding the right player at the right time for the right amount of money. But yeah, I'd be very, very surprised if Luis Enrique and Luis Campos haven't ticked that one on as well. So yeah, and beyond that, other performances, like individual performances, I wanted to mention. So I touched on a few of them. Chevalier, best game since he arrived in Paris. I think the first game against Marseille in the Velodrome, we basically lost on a mistake on his part. I think he really set the record straight here. It's too bad that he gets 2 goals scored on him. It's too bad that he concedes a penalty, even if that penalty is a bit doubtful. It's not entirely clear whether there's actual contact between Chevalier and Greenwood, or if Greenwood just like jumps on over him and takes advantage to dive at the same time. But anyway, it's a penalty. He doesn't stop it. He gets another goal past him. And I think his distribution on balance, like especially the long passes, was a little bit less than what he can do. So there were still a couple of flaws in his game. I think, on every corner kick, or like in general, like every time he has to move off of his line, there's always a half second of hesitation of like, do I go forward? Do I stay back? And then like he kind of decides, but then he's lost that half second. And I think in a few cases, it ends up costing him. And I think it's something that he's going to have to polish off of his game. No particular drama here. He does very well in the penalty shootout, even during the game. He makes the saves that he needs to make, including a few that were really complicated, and he manages to make. So that's really nice to see. But there's always and still room for progression for him. Beyond Chevalier, Pacho has a very good game as well. So solid defensively, and he basically like destroys Mason Greenwood, destroys Guiri, puts a lead on Aubameyang when he comes in. It's so dominating. He scores an own goal, which is really bad luck, because there's really not that much else that he can do on this one. So I don't really blame him for it, because for the rest of his game, he's holding the defense together on his own, and he's really like, he's so impactful to keep opposition attackers away. I thought Nuno Mendes had a good game. I thought he was very mobile, very willing to move forward. Also a couple of like good interventions defensively. I would have liked to see him score, because I think he had a couple of opportunities that he could have buried, but overall like a pretty satisfactory game. Warren Zaire-Emery, I was not so convinced. I think he's like, the past couple of games have been slightly average when he was on very good form before. I don't know if it's the winter break or because he's played so much in the first half of the season. But yeah, like it's not as great. It's still good, but it's not as great as it was before Christmas. In midfield, so I talked about this. I think the midfield three in general was a little bit disappointing. Not that bad, but a little bit disappointing, and you expect more of them in terms of being able to control the game, to control the tempo, but also like to set the right tone when it comes to having an aggressive press up front, but also being able to find the balance, so like they don't have as many opportunities to move close to our goals. And I think in felt they were a little bit overrun in their area, and so I think they do need to produce slightly better in the coming games. And then up front, like bit of a mixed bag. I love Dembele's goal. I think it's so like pure and perfect and smart and technical and just like everything that we want to see from Dembele. And like 2 goals for Dembele in 2 games. One was talking about Doué after the Paris FC game, but if Dembele is back on form, man, and like beyond the goals, there's a couple of times where like, what a player. Like when he gets going, he's just like unstoppable and impossible for a defender to understand what he's gonna do. It's very, very unpredictable. Like technicality is just insane, and his understanding of the game as well is it's spot on. I still think like he needs to. He still has a little bit of physicality missing, and he has a little bit of like. When you play game after game after game, certain decisions become almost automatic. And I think right now, like, similar to what I was saying about Chevalier, sometimes like there's a half second that shouldn't be there that happens, and that kind of takes away from his game. And I think that goes away with him playing a few more games and getting back into the rhythm of competition. Guevara, I thought was okay, but it's too bad because I feel like he's contributing more in terms of his defensive impact than offensive impact. He does a lot. He's very mobile. He's very visible. He runs a lot. He asks for the ball. He provokes and so on. But I feel like the most impactful parts of his games were in our own half instead of in Marseille's own half, which is like I think it's a bit harsh of me to say it like this, because like he does have moments where he really provokes and creates danger within the Marseille defense. But yeah, it felt like he was missing a little bit of something, maybe a little bit of like that killer last move, whether it's a pass or a shot, because I think like even the time where he broke away on the offense, quite a few, he just has to like pass the ball back, and honestly, like there's one opponent that comes back, and then they all come back, and then like he doesn't have a solution anymore. So yeah, missing that last bit of brilliance. And then the last one, Doué, it's really hard, because on one hand, he's just so incredibly talented, and right now he's like maybe the one like game changer that we have in our team. And I think, obviously Dembele is like an absolute game changer. Obviously Kvara can make things happen. Obviously Vitinha, in one pass, like something can happen. But Doué, he takes the ball, and you don't know what he's gonna do, but it's gonna be danger, and time after time after time. The problem is that we forget, but he's still only a 20-year-old player who's still only on his like second season with PSG, really at the end of the first year, when he's been consistently playing with the first squad and consistently being a starter in the big game. And so like, do we blame him because sometimes he makes the wrong decision, sometimes he tries to do it all on his own, sometimes he like forgets teammates and just go after like, first dribble, second dribble, third dribble, and then at some point it doesn't work anymore? Or do we accept that it's just his game? I remember thinking the same with Neymar, actually. Like, Neymar, it was impossible to take one-on-one, but sometimes he was trying to do so much on his own that, yeah, like you cannot be 1v11. Just like, even at that level, it doesn't quite work. So yeah, he needs to learn that. He needs to be more consistent in his decision making. But yeah, like, I don't want to blame him, because like, honestly, what a player, what a talent. And like, he's gonna be like, if he doesn't, like, if he wants to stay in PSG, and like if there's no like transfer shenanigans or anything, he's gonna be at the core of our attack for like maybe the next 10 years. Like, he's a generational player, and one that we really need to keep and build around, and continue developing and refining. And then, like, in terms of substitute, just very quickly, Gonçalo Ramos, the super sub, strikes again. So we can expect him to start against Paris FC in the French Cup on Monday. He'll get his post-goal starting, where it's going to be horrible, and we're all going to go back to crying about him. But yeah, what a goal. Scores his penalty as well. Ice cold. Damn, like, he's got, like, it's too bad, because he's got something, he's got talent. He's just like, I don't know. I really, like, I've given up trying to understand what goes on in his head sometimes. And then Barcola, I thought was interesting, and I think like he was looking sharper physically in terms of the runs that he was making, and the speed that he was getting to. And I think you see it on the equalizer, on the 2-2. Like, he like runs past the Marseille defense, who are obviously like tired at that point, but he's very sharp, very cutting, and I think like it bodes well for him when you think of a player who was really like, on his knees with no fitness remaining. So that's quite positive. So anyway, this is kind of what I had for you guys on this PSG Marseille game. Champions X7, seventh trophy in a year. What a year it's been. The next one will probably be like, I don't know, either like the Ligue 1, French Cup, Ligue 1 before French Cup for sure. Then like Champions League. So, like the next trophies are really the big ones that we're going to want to gear up for. Next game for Paris on Monday, French Cup at home in Parc des Princes against Paris FC again. So we're going to be back to the cold. It's snowing in Paris right now, so I'll go back and put on my scarf and my stuff because it's cold. It's so cold, guys. And so yeah, so I'll see you guys in the coming days to do all of the preview for that and talk about everything that's going on. In the meantime, let me know in the comments what you thought of this game. Did you doubt? Do you think Marseille was going to win it? Do you like the French air conditioning and the Parisian air conditioning? And, let me know in the comment. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and hit the bell to get notified of future videos. And don't forget, ici c'est Paris!